Uh, uh, good good morning. Good morning for fellow many of you that are tuning in. I want to take a moment to thank all of you, and it's gonna be an amazing that what I am gonna present to fellow Ambazonians that we have to think. We have to think before we do whatever we choose. And whatever we choose and the decision we make will impact all of us in the future. This is not a room for mistakes, and the room for mistakes is long gone. And so I am here to remind all of us as we sit here to discuss Cameroon. So remember that I am broadcast on two channels. I'm broadcast on my Facebook and on my YouTube. On YouTube is called Transparency Media International. So if you are tuning in, I want to appreciate you that are joining me live in this wonderful, amazing message that I am going to be broadcast today. It's the news that we all will think about and what do we have. But I think that the smart people will always think smart and making smart decisions for the common good of Ambazonia. So stay tuned and do not go away. And if you just join, hit the share button. Uh, I want to take a moment to thank the United States. I know United States is doing every possibility to maintain peace and tranquility around the world. And no doubt about it, and there's no nation in the world that is amazing like the United States. And so we will have to appreciate the United States government for extending their privilege to support those who have been minimized. And it is a wonderful and amazing nation, the United States. You may not agree with my assessment, but however, the fact is true. The United States is an honest nation that stand for freedom. They stand for freedom because of the past experience they have encountered before become what they are today. So therefore, just hold on a minute. Fellow brothers, sorry for the interruption. There is one thing as I was saying, the United States. But before I go into that, I want to remind all fellow brothers and sisters in and around the world and here in the United States that the COVID-19 is a serious and the safety is essential. that you must take this as serious as ever before. Protecting your loved ones, your family, your sisters, and all the various members of your family, or friends, and this. If you know you have been in contact and had some viruses, stay safe, protect yourself, and protect the community. It's not something that we have to be playing with it until we are able to find a lasting solutions. Otherwise, let's stay safe. And fellow Ambazonian in Ground Zero, those standing for this fight for freedom, liberty, and equality, you will always be appreciated for the continued effort that you have done, so that has take us to this level that we find ourselves. We know in a blessed memory that some of our people have been killed deliberately, intentionally, by the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. They are killed because of injustice. The world community that we thought they are unbiased, but unfortunately, they turn a blind eye. International community turn a blind eye. And so we are opening our eyes, tell them, no, we should stand for freedom. Freedom is what it is. Our people were being deprived of their fundamental homeland and handed to a neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. And that is where we find ourselves in this collusion. But we will not blink our eyes in the face of this reality, but we will stand, and we are here to tell the world, no, we cannot in circumstances accept the fact. So I know many people are ready with their own weapons to kick against, but I can assure you that this is not the moment. This is not the moment. I know people believe if a leader is killed, another leader takes over and continue wherever it started. Because once you've been captured, they believe that they have captured you, and they believe that they can grab whatever they have from you because you are in their pocket. And so it's like you have an animals that you have captured and you place them in your fence. They have no way to go. They have no escape route. And so they are obligated to listen to you. They are obligated to eat the food you provide. They are obligated because you are in their cage. So we will no longer grow in that era where people believe, if we think that every Ambazonian is a leader, every Southern Cameroonian is a leader, every citizen of Ambazonia is a leader. So when one is captured, the next one picks up the leadership. And we need to rally behind and then form a defense. So, but because they believe that if we don't have another leadership, then they can squeeze whatever they have because they are under their captivity. We have to turn our eyes and look upon the reality. And that is why I keep on speak up. I will speak up. I will speak up with whoever it is, and I will stand and defend. You cannot. Even United States knows that. Even Germany knows that. Even Great Britain knows that. Once they lead the armed leadership has been captured, the next in command takes. They don't rely on the order from the one that is being captured to give order for those who are in liberty, who are in freedom, who have the right to defend. So we have to grow up to be matured. We don't have to live in vacuum. Fellow citizens of Southern Cameroon, we can't live in vacuum, but we have to be vigilant and open our eyes, because the enemy will use, because they believe that once they have circumstances, but Ambazonia, you guys have to rise and above all. But that is not what I'm going to be talking. What I'm going to be talking today is, when I speak up of injustice, the injustice is real. The injustice is a fact. The injustice will continue to haunt. Can you imagine? You all saw the blue vehicle that is circulating within the Facebook. The blue vehicle are the 40 billions provided by United Nations. United Nations deliberately and intentionally fund La Republique and provide 40 billions. And that 40 billions is what you see in the blue vehicle, the armored vehicle that La Republique has purchased. And when they have, now they're asking that we should meet a La Republique Archbishop of some of you who claim that the leader met in a bicameral meeting. Will you imagine? And let them come as of equal partner in any discussion that has to be debate. They cannot be held in a concage and then release them at their will and ask them to come to the negotiate table. Fellow brothers and sisters, let's grow up and be matured. Let's grow up and look for facts. Let's grow up and raise matured. Because when I see young diligent people lose their mind because they believe that a leader, anyone can become a leader, so long as the liberty and freedom and the choice you use is God whom you will. So arrest them and place them in captivity. Now they want a discussion. Are they healthy? Let's look at, you saw the blue vehicle that is circulating through the Facebook. That blue vehicle, it reflects the 40 billions that United Nations, whom we expect to be umpire, they expect to be neutral, they expect to observe, but instead they indirectly provide funding to La Republique du Cameroun, and they did not provide funding to the people of Southern Cameroon. Remember, in 1960, when the United Nations voted to recognize La Republique, in the subsequent year, 1961, they also voted to recognize Southern Cameroon in its obligations. Funding should be provided to both equal partners. If 40 billion was to be given to La Republique, 40 billion should also be given to Southern Cameroon to make the balance equal. United Nations and be ready to face Southern Cameroon and ask them to come to the negotiation table to begin a dialogue, because they know that while they are sitting there in a dialogue and under captivity, now they will use their weapon they have been offered by the United Nations. This is the poor judgment. United States knew that this is a fact. When United States, in some 200 years ago, defeated Great Britain, when United Nations 200 years ago defeated Great Britain, the negotiation did not take place when citizens of the United States were in Britain in captivity. The citizens were free, and it was unanimously debated after the victory for the United States. It was a unanimous discussion between United States and the people of Great Britain. It was not because the leaders of the United States were held in captivity in Great Britain before negotiation began to take place. Let's open our eyes. Let's be vigilant. Let's be honest. Let's stand for the truth. You all know, you all have read history, and you all are mature to understand facts. So you shouldn't be in disguise. United States should play games. United States understand the truth. The United States in 200 years ago are able to defeat Britain. The leaders at the time were not held in captivity to negotiate between British government and the people of the United States. And if they did so, then that would have changed the course of history. But the people of Britain accepted defeat from the United States, and therefore the negotiations were taking place in an atmosphere of free and tranquility. You cannot take people you held in bondage and now you bring them to negotiation table and ask that they have achieved. No, let's be vigilant. Let's be honest. Let's open our eyes. Let's look at the Germany. when during the German fighting to conquer their unifications, when German was fighting during the conquest of his fighting for unification under Otto von Bismarck, the final war between France and Germany. The final war between France and Germany. The war was fought. The war was fought. But certain leaders of Germany that were living in France were not held in captivity after the war. There was an unanimously open discussion to acknowledge that France has received a defeat, and that was held in an open atmosphere. It wasn't held in bondage. It wasn't held in capture. So why would the United States engage with people that are under captivity? I think, in fact, an unjust fact that United States will stood up and be debating with those that are being held in captivity to discuss about the freedom of a nation in which the world unjustly imposed in Southern Cameroon. If Article 1608 XV and Article 1514 XV, if it were justly implemented as it's supposed to, then we wouldn't have come into this moment when citizens of 7,000 citizens of Southern Cameroon relinquish their lives because of this magnitude of crisis. Fellow citizens of Southern Cameroon, fellow Ambazonians, it is time we need to rise up. We need to rise up and think beyond ourselves and look about. Ferdinand Ngoh Ngoh is the person that has been signing the signature that you see that being implemented. You all know that Paul Biya is mentally deranged. You all know, you will agree with me with my assessment that Paul Biya is mentally deranged. He is incapable. One, Paul Biya don't even remember his children's name. Paul Biya doesn't even remember the room he even came out of. Paul Biya doesn't even remember the wife's name. Paul Biya cannot even trace back to the room that he used to be living there for the past 38 years. And if Paul Biya cannot remember those environments which are conversant for him, that he has been living there for several decades, and if he has been living for his own comfortable environment for decades, and he can't remember the trace route back to the room, remember the wife he was married to, remember the children he has been having, and he can't remember any of them, and yet the individual we all know that has been carried on a fraudulent signature is Ferdinand Ngoh Ngoh. United States is fully aware of this fact. United States is honestly aware of this fact. And I believe that the United States should stand up and speak up. United States is not afraid to speak up when the things are wrong. So I urge the United States to say no when things are not right. If the people of Southern Cameroon have been treated cruelly for the past several decades, and the people has risen because of the injustice, and yet they are still continue to still manipulate the same injustice that I have inflicted upon the people of Southern Cameroon. I am here to let the United States know that we thank the United States for continued effort, but we want an honesty that a people that have been held in bondage, under captivity, cannot negotiate on the terms of separation, because the people of Southern Cameroon will no longer want to live together with a nation that they don't even respect the common law system. La Republique doesn't even appreciate the law system they implemented in their own country. We are a people of law. We believe in a fundamental law, and we have exhibited this law for the past decade. And therefore, we are urging the United States that we will no longer condone all those manipulations. United States understand that the people of Southern Cameroon were never a colonial territory of La Republique. United States knew that they signed the voting that took place in 1961. United States participate. It was not voluntary. United States participate as leaders and as a member of the United Nations, as a member of the United Nations Human Rights, as a member of this strong organization. United States know fully well, but I am sure United States will do it right. The people of Southern Cameroon have been treated for donkey years, but it's the moment that the people choose to relinquish La Republique, let La Republique remain on their own territory, and let the people of Southern Cameroon live on their own territory. France grew on to Africa. France grew on to Africa. Africa cannot have any breathing space or breathing air. France has been glued like a chewing gum, and the resources that comes out of Africa does not even benefit Africa, but it benefits the French. And that is why France is every aspect of Africa to continue glue. If Africa, we will want to see France. We want to see France coming to Africa as a business partner, as a visitors, as friendly nations. We don't want France to be the architect to determine how Africa must live, on what property they must live, and on what function they must breathe, on what oxygen they must breathe, and on what. No. France needs to stay out of Africa and allow Africa to determine their future, and that future will be for the interest of Africa. Fellow brothers and sisters, we cannot make this mistake any longer. We cannot make this mistake any longer. It's time we stand and speak up. It's time we stand and speak up and say no to manipulation. No. Can you expect that the United Nations will grant 40 billion for COVID-19? 40 billion to La Republique for COVID-19. La Republique rushed immediately and purchased hardware immediately. And once the hardware arrived Yaoundé, that is when they started showing that they are ready for talks, because they believe that they are so powerful. Now they are ready to discuss with Southern Cameroon. They can discuss whatever they have. They should come now, because the hardware they have been bought by the 40 billion that United Nations has handed to them, and that they are ready to face the Ambazonia. Let the Ambazonia come up, because they have shown their hardware, and their hardware is circulating. Fellow citizens of Southern Cameroon, we will not be intimidated. We will not be bullied. We will not stand for any such a thing. Our nation is a legitimate nation. We are not a conquered territory. We must stand and say no to foreign domination. We must say no to foreign occupation. We must say no. Our people have the right and privilege to live in a tranquility environment without coercion. Without coercion. That is the truth that the people of Southern Cameroon must stand and face the reality. I know many people are rushing and appreciating that, yes, the leaders are going for discussion. And on what terms of discussion are they discussing? They should have been let go. They should have been free and give them privilege. They should have, first of all, released them from the captivity and give them the privilege and let them walk on their freedom and meet wherever they choose and have that discussion in a mindset that is free and not mindset that is being held by captivity. It's not a mindset. If imagine that you are being forced, it's like when you are working under an agency, you are obligated to abide by that agency. But so long as you are not working under agency, there is a general meeting they call a consensus meeting that many different corporations will come to bring a universal ideas for the common good of this. So each one is not held by the consensus of that individual or the company or a group, because each one has its policy. So those policies will bring together and they will debate to find out a lasting solution. But when a company, you have to abide by the company rules and regulations. Let's take for example, if the German consulate, want to carry on a domestic reform, they already have a picture of the domestic reform they want to implement it. So therefore, anyone coming there must be abide by the domestic policy as instituted. But when several nations is coming together to discuss about a foreign policy, those nations have its own individual policy and how they see things. So when they come together, they will look at those individual ideas and policy, and they see how they can inculcate those policies into one unanimously principles for the common good of the universal nations. They are speaking up. Fellow brothers and sisters, you saw the Exhibit 1. The Exhibit 1 is the United Nations offer 40 billion. Exhibit 1, United Nations offer 40 billions to La Republique du Cameroun, and no single billion was offered to the Southern Cameroon territory. Yet, both La Republique and Southern Cameroon are members of the trust territory of La Republique. United Nations is a member of the nations that were supposed to be decolonized under the French administrative authority. Southern Cameroon was supposed to be decolonized under the British administrative authority. So if United Nations single-handedly offer 40 billion to La Republique, and zero was offered to the people of Southern Cameroon, and yet they are asking us to form a ceasefire. And what terms of the ceasefire are we conducting? And what terms of the ceasefire? If we all understand the impact of the coronavirus that is rocking the world community, no one wants to fight war. But war was declared upon the citizens of Southern Cameroon. The people of Southern Cameroon never stood for war. They never. But La Republique take advantage because they felt that Southern Cameroon did not have no military equipment, no war equipment. And so therefore they can go and smash them at will at any time. But unfortunately, they have to understand that Southern Cameroon are also men, they are not women. And so therefore you coming to meet, you will also meet men. Even if they were not prepared at the moment, but give them a moment, they have been risen and firmly. Ambazonia will not longer stand and succumb to neighboring country La Republique du Cameroun. Exhibit 2, the Archbishop of the neighboring country La Republique du Cameroun is the one who is negotiating, who is providing his residency for discussion about the Southern Cameroon and those that be held in captivity, and some that have been sentenced to life imprisonment. Those are the people they release. The same people they've sentenced to life imprisonment are the same people that they have brought to discuss on the terms and what terms. Remember, Ambazonian guns is what make the world know, remember. Without the guns, the answering of the guns, then you will not have no voice. So go crop, but unfortunately they learned that it wasn't as easy as they have expected. They brought in new hardware from the nations. Fellow brothers and sisters, we will not be intimidated by those hardware because we have dealt with something that is more than that. And then let them go and prepare more, because we shall not be intimidated by La Republique, those things they brought and started parading Yaoundé and Douala. We will stand against all those hardware. We will stand. If the last person will proclaim Boya, then that's the moment we must stand and wait till the last person will proclaim Boya. Otherwise, Boya will not be a station of the Republique du Cameroun. Since La Republique declared independence, since La Republique independence was pronounced, La Republique has never, in historically fact, organized a meaningful election, a transfer of power from one elected officials to the next. But yet, the world community see La Republique as more of a brilliant structure than the people of Southern Cameroon, because La Republique destroyed the structure of Southern Cameroon, and we take it lightly. But this moment, we're not going to take it lightly. This moment, La Republique going to face the reality of men, the men that will not longer be succumb to La Republique policy and ideology. How many letters have we written to the United Nations? How many letters have been written to the US Congress? How many letters have been written to the United Senate? How many letters have been written to the United Kingdom? How many letters have been written to France? All of the letters that have been written, they stood upon it and they didn't look at it as something that made them sense, that made them reasonable, that to look upon the Southern Cameroon. Yet, but when the answering of guns began, that is when they know that they have met the real men, and that is why they begin to face to talk. So now let's go by this, because United Nations is funding their equipment, but we're gonna let understand that we were not gonna be succumbed to those fear of guns, because we can afford, even if we have sacrificed our own self for the liberty and freedom that the nation free. Remember, some 200 years ago, the United States stood against Britain. No taxation without a republic. That was the philosophy of this great nation. And they want those who are standing for freedom will never relinquish their pride to become free. So if United States stood no taxation without a representation, and that was the philosophy they advocate, and they stood by it in government. And in fact, it happens that all the domination is happening by the British government. You all know what is happening in Hong Kong. It's not different. Why would the British government believe that after 150 years living with Hong Kong, and they expect that Hong Kong will live more in harmony with the communist China than living in harmony on their own self? What is this imperative? If they have been living with Britain for 200 years, why would British believe that they should be returned to the communist China? I am sure there's something absolutely wrong with the British government. There is something wrong with the British government, despite the fact that they invented English, they invented all means of education, but yet they're still ignorant. They believe that every part that they have utilized should be returned to the original, but fail to understand that the impact they felt against living United States should have given them to think about Hong Kong, think about in Cameroon, think about the rest they have frustrated. One will expect them. Why in the series of this fighting that is going on in Southern Cameroon, the British government under the British secretary says the gas production will provide unanimously revenue for between La Republique and will provide enormous revenue between La Republique and the Great Britain, but fail to understand that they never have any relationship with La Republique. Their relationship is with Southern Cameroon. When the people of Southern Cameroon met at the Enugu House of Assembly in Nigeria, when they met, it was between Britain and Nigeria. While Britain was the administrative authority, the Nigerian internal affairs of the Southern Cameroon were in Enugu's House of Assembly. The Nigerian did not. The Nigerian observed their distances. The Nigerian respect their distances. They respect the people of Southern Cameroon. They welcome them in the Enugu House of Assembly because they knew that this is a separate government and they are a separate government, and that they are meeting with the administrative authority, which is the Great Britain. I'm sure British should have remembered all this before ever thinking what they should do next. But unfortunately, as soon as they leave, they're no longer thinking. The British government is thinking as they're supposed to be thinking. They think that since they have lived with the people of Southern Cameroon for how many years, so therefore they should be returned back to La Republique and give them the potential document that harmony between La Republique and between the Southern Cameroon and British government and the liaison between United Nations. But unfortunately, they did not even think, and one will expect them to be more thinkable. But unfortunately, they remain the same, not different between the British government. One will expect them that at this moment, at this era, when the citizens of Southern Cameroon are more well intelligent, more educated, but yet the British government are down block. The British government is just as stupid as they are. Why would they expect that the people of Southern Cameroon should live under the umbrella of a terrorist government? That democracy is never of their calling. Never of their calling. Democracy is none of the calling of La Republique. Can you imagine that a nation, since independence, has not changed in leadership through a democratic means of free and fair elections, yet they conduct, they manipulate, they do whatever it takes. Yet the world see them as the most brilliant nation that they can harbor the people of Southern Cameroon. But I am here to remind the world that we will not, in any circumstances, harbor by La Republique du Cameroun. We will not. We will not be harbored by La Republique du Cameroun. We believe in freedom. We believe in equality. When you are driving your car here in the United States, when the police stop you, for those, I know people will say, oh, no, that is not real, but it's fact. When the police, he tells you the reason why they stop you. There are some few elements of police that they may not tell you, but majority of the police here in the United States will indicate why they stop you. You were speeding. There is some expired document. And that is the reason why they have to stop you. But in La Republique, it's not. They believe that they're superior. They believe that their power comes straight from God. And they are God's Paul Biya. And so therefore, they can brutalize citizens at will because there is no independent judge that can try them. They believe that they are supreme. And the people of Southern Cameroon does not live in that egoistic belief system. We believe that the people have the power. And that the people have the power to recall any system of government in place should the government violate that policy. And that should be in a plain, like a Bible, and should be reading by everyone. That is the philosophy of Southern Cameroon. And that is why they were able to change leadership. Jongu Foncha, Ndele, and Umjua. It was a betrayal where we have this useless guy they call Estimuna that was already corrupted. It was a corrupted being that was translated into destroy the fundamental value of the people of Southern Cameroon. And yet this smelling odor has sunk to the people of Southern Cameroon. But we are here to renovate and to change the cause of it. La Republique has never, since inception, has ever demonstrated any of those such quality. Has never demonstrated such quality. But yet, the world community sees La Republique the most amazing nation. That is why upon the 50 ambassadors you find in La Republique, upon the 50 or 70 ambassadors that they've driven their cars as a diplomat, one will expect them to stand up and say, no, we would be an umpire. We will not stand and face this injustice that you are persuading in your nation. But yet they're romancing. The only person that could speak up is the U.S. ambassador. The U.S. ambassador in the neighboring country. That is only one person that can stand up and speak. None of them has spoken. None of them. You have the British ambassador that is just mute. You remember when he was appointed, there was a barrage of paper saying, oh, he has knowledge, worldwide knowledge of leadership, but yet he was mute. He hasn't even spoken since he was held at the embassy. He is absolutely an idiot at the British representative. You not even to talk of the British representative at the United Nations. He couldn't even remember the debate in the United Nations. The British and representative at the United Nations here in the United States is as dull as the entire cabinet of the British government. He couldn't remember the debate that was taught. because they're children of the privilege. Children of the privilege that they've been given opportunity to lead a United Nations, that they don't even have nothing in their brain. And that is the people that you expect them to define the world's status. That is the world you want to believe. That's the world we want to live in a harmony. When we have people in the leadership, they cannot even know what is happening. They cannot even think. That is the British government that you find. But I am here to denounce that Africa will not live in that atmosphere of this destruction, and that the people of Southern Cameroon will rise and say, no, we will not succumb to that destruction. Fellow brothers and sisters, we are at war. Fund the war of Ambazonian War of Independence. That is the right choice. That's the right thing we must do. That's the right thing we must do. Imagine 7,000 people of Southern Cameroon were killed by an unjust foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroun. Yet the world embraced it and feel harmony. And yet they are in dancing and embracing and shouting because the people of Southern Cameroon are so blockheaded. They think that since it's Africa, African animals, the African monkeys, if they can kill many of them, just imagine that something was happening in Europe. The Europe conference would have been held the right way. And that is why Emmanuel Macron, the architect of African destruction, ensured that every aspect of territorial position that are held must be glued by a francophone. United Nations permanent representative in the Central African Republic is the French. OAU Secretary General is the French. Yet, that is why they block every aspect of discussion. Why France is blocking at the United Nations any aspect of discussion about the Southern Cameroon? Guess what? Those idiots are blocking the aspect of discussion. And Africa itself, it is a nightmare to see this Africa. Africa is terrible. It's smelling. It's smelling. It's smelling. It's smelling. It's smelling. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. You expect the leaders to stand up and say no. What is wrong with Africa? What is wrong? There's something fundamentally wrong. Until we change the life aspect of Africa, then we will live in this phony hegemony. Fellow brothers and sisters, this is the moment that we need to stand up and speak up. Let's look at how they manipulate and enjoy their functions. Why will Africa Africa will have the IMF, which is the French created World Bank? They call it the so-called World Bank. It's created by France. They have to provide loan, finance to Africa and nations. IMF is not even a nations. It's a group of entities, smart guy, that they've grew together and say, oh, let's create this and utilize Africa for our own self-interest. And that is how the IMF was created. They say Africa must borrow money from them to carry on any investment. But when France want to carry on its investment, they don't borrow it from IMF. You got this right. When France want to carry on investment, they don't borrow it from IMF. If the British government want to carry investment, they don't borrow from IMF. So why should Africa be borrowing from IMF? So that you can see how they glue Africa and solo-take every aspect of Africa that the breeding they cannot. Why would IMF be the funding? You will agree with me. Why should the IMF be a funding to Africa? When France funding, it doesn't come from IMF. British funding doesn't come from IMF. Canadian government funding doesn't come from IMF. United States funding doesn't come from IMF. But African funding comes from IMF. That you can see how they've been glued. The glue and the brutal headed that they are not even qualified to be president. You have in Nigeria, you have The one they call Buhari. Some they say he's a dead person. Some they say whatever it is. But you can imagine if actually it's a dead person in Nigeria, then you can imagine how dust it is that Africa don't even know who is their president. That someone will be imposter. And that is exactly what is going on in La Republique. You have Ngoh Ngoh fraudulently signing signature that does not belong to anyone. Fellow Africans, it's time to rise and say no. You saw how many Africans that have been dying in the how many Africans have been dying just to cross the river to get into Europe? Can you imagine that we have people and then we can a significant difference? Let's close IMF at all. Create a monetary policy. Let's look at if United States need yam, they're gonna buy it from Nigeria. If they want to need it, they're gonna buy it from Nigeria. They don't need the IMF to debate on how the yam has to be sold. If United States need timber, they're gonna buy it from African countries. Or they can plant it here in the United States. They don't need them for approval. They don't need them. They don't need IMF for approval. But IMF is being utilized as a tool to serve Africa like they. So it is amazing how these people manipulate implanted leaders and that they make sure that they stay in power and they make sure, and that is why you see France is looking for transition to implant Paul Biya's son as the next. That is what France is doing, secretly and militarily. Secretly, militarily. And force the so-called the parliament. The junkyard, the so-called the parliament. Who elected? Of course, none of the people there in Southern Cameroon. Fellow Ambazonia, if any of those individuals that attend the so-called La Republique junkyard, the called parliament, and if you meet one of them in Southern Cameroon, he should be returned back to La Republique onto the land they choose to go in the form of a dust. And if any of them that pass away over there should not be returned to Ambazonia. This is an Ambazonia and they're playing for us. Fellow brothers and sisters, we will not succumb to this useless behavior. Stand and say no to. We have to stand up. Fellow citizens, I know you guys are preparing to go to work, but I want to let you understand that we have to grow matured. We have to grow and learn and reason. We have to. Every citizen of Southern Cameroon, if you're a child, you don't recognize a child as a leader. He become a weaker leader. But if you believe that you cannot become a leader, then you are a weak leader. So every Ambazonia is a leader. So anyone is capable of governing Ambazonia. So everyone is capable of defending Ambazonia. Once captured, then once take the leadership and proceed immediately. Because they think that by capturing one, they have captured the rest. Unfortunately, that is not going to exist. It's never going to exist. Ambazonia is here to stay. Ambazonia is here to defend. Ambazonia is here as a sovereign nation. Fellow brothers and sisters, we are at war. The war is real, and we have to stand it. We have to stand for, and we have to fight till the last person standing. We will not succumb to this rubbish that the international community think that the people of Southern Cameroon are so stupid. We are not stupid. We are people. We are intelligent. We are an intelligent species. And we will not take this for lightly. Fellow brothers and sisters, let's form a defense bloc and work together for the common good of Ambazonia. That will be a lasting solution. We will never be rolled like a guinea pig. I want to take a moment to thank the state of here in the United States, Ambazonia in the ground zero. I love you all. We are together. The battle continues. Never relent your effort and your fight, because all of us are together fighting for the common freedom for all Ambazonia. Thank you and wish you all a wonderful day.